Hello, I'm United States Senator Saxby Chambliss, and thanks for tuning in again on our YouTube video. This week in the United States Senate, we have some very interesting issues that we are dealing with. First of all, we're heading into our conference on the Financial Regulatory Reform Bill. And as one of the 5 Republican Senate conferees, we're going to be very much involved in the decision-making process as this bill moves ahead in the conference committee. The Democrats are obviously in control, and they're going to dictate at the end of the day how far left this bill moves and how much of an impact this bill is going to have on your pocketbook and on the way your bank is able to do business with you. It's critically important to me that we protect your right to deal with your community bank or your big bank, if that's who you deal with, and that there is no intrusion in the way or any sort of adverse activity that's going to take place from a regulatory standpoint on your bank that has a negative impact upon you. At the same time, we want to make sure that we have the right kind of regulatory oversight process in place that will not allow Wall Street banks or the other huge banks in America to simply get systemically risky to the point to where we can see any kind of indication of the same type of financial collapse that happened 2 years ago. It's important that we maintain the strongest financial industry in the world. We have been there for decades and decades, and we've got to make sure that Congress doesn't overreach with this financial regulatory reform bill and make mistakes that will really move the financial transactions that now take place in this country offshore, and that we can control and do the right kind of oversight on those banks that are moving in the direction of becoming systemically risky. Another issue that is being debated in the Senate as we speak is the issue of putting some controls on the Environmental Protection Agency and prohibiting the Environmental Protection Agency from enacting through regulation what Congress is authorized to do by law. You know, we've had a cap-and-trade bill and a climate change bill that is passed over in the House of Representatives. Here in the United States Senate, we have not taken this issue up for debate. Now, all of us want to make sure that not only we breathe clean air, drink clean water, and that we don't destroy the environment, but we want to make sure that our children and grandchildren inherit the same environmentally safe and secure America that we were fortunate to inherit. But we have an agency called the Environmental Protection Agency that is trying to supersede the authority of Congress. And what they're trying to do is enact regulations, not laws, regulations in lieu of laws that seek to require you as a business person, you as a member of a church, your hospital, or if you're a farmer, you as a farmer, will have to go to the Environmental Protection Agency and secure a permit to do the types of normal activities that you carry out in your churches or your hospitals or your farms or your small businesses every single day. That's not a function that the Environmental Protection Agency is charged with. That is a function of Congress. I have been opposed to the cap-and-trade provision in the climate change legislation that passed in the House. One reason it has not come up in the Senate is because there are not the votes here to pass that. And we should not let the EPA step in and say, well, if you don't pass that bill, then we're going to enact the same law by regulation. That's simply not right. So today on the floor of the Senate and sometime during the course of today, we'll have a vote on a resolution introduced by Senator Murkowski of Alaska. It's a very positive, very strong, very bipartisan resolution that seeks to limit the EPA's authority to enact any kind of regulations that are going to have a negative impact from an environmental standpoint on your business. But at the same time, we want to make sure that we are moving down the road of allowing our children and grandchildren to inherit that same great America that we were fortunate to inherit. The last issue I want to mention to you is an issue that's very near and dear to all Americans, not just Georgians, and that's the issue that's going on in the Gulf right now. The oil spill that is taking place because of the blowout of the well that British Petroleum drilled is causing significant problems right now in Louisiana and Mississippi and on the Gulf Coast of Florida. A number of us who represent the beautiful and pristine East Coast beaches have sent a letter to the administration directing them to begin now to take preparations and precautions that are necessary to ensure that if this spill is not brought under control, that there is no potential for damage to accrue on the East Coast beaches of the United States. We're very proud of the beaches in Georgia, from Camden County all the way to Chatham County, and we have a huge tourist industry that lives on the coast of Georgia today, and it is a beautiful environment that we have in the marshes of Glen. And we want to make sure that any issue that is taking place with reference to the spill in the Gulf of Mexico today is not transferred to those beautiful beaches and those beautiful marshes by virtue of the oil that is being spilled today getting into the Gulf Stream, making its way around the southern tip of the Florida Keys and ultimately coming up the East Coast. So now is the time to make the preparations from an environmental standpoint, and we are urging in a bipartisan way the administration to take the necessary action that we continue to protect our beaches on the East Coast of the United States.